Hi, for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Caitlin. I am Cole's wife, and many of you know that Cole already started filming some daily little messages for people. And as soon as he started doing it, I felt like, oh gosh, I just feel like God's going to tell me to start doing it. And I was kind of dreading it. And tonight at dinner, Cole was like, hey, do you want me to set you up a YouTube? And I was like, yes. I didn't really want to, but knew I should and then kind of forgot about it. But when I was in the shower just a couple minutes ago, um, for me as a mom of two little boys under two, it's sometimes my only quiet moment of the day, and a lot of times that's where I hear from God. And I felt like He told me this whole thing that He wanted me to get on here right now and share. And as you can see, I have wet hair and no makeup on, which is a struggle for most girls, including myself. And that is kind of the crux, I think, of the message that he wanted me to share. Um, as a leader for many years in my life, I've failed a lot. I failed a lot of people, and I've even had to apologize and go back to people and say, I'm sorry I failed you. I'm not perfect. And that was actually the main thing I heard God say in the shower was, I'm not perfect, but I'm in love with someone who is, and that's the truth. Um, but back to me not being perfect. I failed a lot in my life, but I've always tried to be transparent. I've always tried to be real. And I felt like the message to let you guys in on today is about that. It's about being real. And in this age of kind of fakeness, in this age of Facebook, if you think about it, I even heard something on the John Tesh radio station, I think this week sometime in the car, is everybody's putting their best foot forward. Like, of course, if you make a profile picture, it's going to be like the best picture of yourself. You're not going to pick one where you think, oh, I look ugly, or one where you have no makeup on. You're going to put your best foot forward. You're never going to write statuses of like, oh, I let someone down today, or oh, I just lost my job. I mean, I guess maybe you would, but you would just always be putting the best things up. And even John Tesh, I think, was talking about how like that causes other people to be depressed and everything because they're comparing themselves and all of this junk. And I just thought about it more and more is I just needed to put it out there that I'm not perfect, but I'm in love with someone who is. And from the outside, I could, a lot of people, I feel like, I've actually had people just kind of talk about that they've envied, or, I think we all have people in our lives that we look at and think they have it all together, and I do not have it all together. Um, my husband and I have a great marriage. It's not always been perfect. We have our hard days and our things that we're working through. And for me, I had a lot of bad relationships in my life that have led me to this great relationship, but the Lord is still healing me from those things. So it's not always been perfect. Or a lot of times people look at my two amazing boys that are so beautiful and say, you have everything, you have the boys, but most people wouldn't know that I had a miscarriage right before Caleb, and that's not perfect, and that was hard. Um, our house, a lot of people would uh, say, your house, you have the perfect house, you have the perfect life, and that was one of the things I felt like God say was you should film it in your bedroom because it's always a mess and it's not perfect. If you were to come to my house, normally it would look perfectly clean, but if you opened our bedroom door, it would be another story. I was even gonna try to show it, but it's just a disaster. There's the baby's little crib with the imperfect matching, our bed not made, clothes everywhere, so it's not perfect. And then looks, it's funny is just the other night, I was at the Newsboys concert and just a stranger, like another young lady, was sitting there. I was chasing after Caleb, and she said, "You're so pretty," and that made me feel good. I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I wasn't feeling pretty that day, but even our looks, like I'm completely insecure and have dealt with insecurity over my face. When I was in middle school and high school, I had bad acne. It's not perfect. I just wear makeup, or honestly, this is kind of embarrassing, but I go spray tan because I grew up in Florida and I've never had life without being tan. But the reason I do that is because I had skin cancer. Not perfect. So it's just, I guess, another story of seeing to be transparent and to be real. And my life is completely blessed, and every perfect gift that I have is from above and from God, and I know that. But it's not always been perfect. I don't have it all together. Um, And something even I felt like I should focus on, and I'm going to do it really quick because I don't want this video to be long. But I just felt like the Lord wanted me to share, especially for the girls. It's actually written to wives in 1 Peter 3. Wives, which if you're not one yet, you will be one day, and you should focus on this. In the same way, be submissive to your husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence of your lives. Here's the part that I want you to hear. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to make themselves beautiful. They were submissive to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. And the main things that stuck out to me is just that our beauty should come from our inner self, which has unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. And that's just something that God's been speaking to me lately, is to really work on my inner self. If I only spent half the time I do on my inner self as I do on my outward self with my hair, makeup, clothes, and I don't have time to focus on that much with my mom or with being a mom. I even thought it's funny. I thought I was supposed to wear my sweatshirt. I probably live in this thing 4 days a week. It's just my comfy sweatshirt at home, has a hole in it. But that's who I am, and I'm focusing on working on my inner self now, and I just want to encourage you to do the same. Just imagine all the time that we spend on our outward adornment, and if we would just pause that and really think about, or even post it up on your mirror, just the verses of who God says you are, and just be fighting to be in love with Him. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, because this is for everyone, guys or girls, if any guys happen to be watching this, which actually I felt like I was supposed to say, for the guys, you might not have to deal with as much with craziness with makeup and hair, but a lot of times your insecurities are masked by pride. And to just let that down and let go of pride, because it will lead to your downfall, just like the Bible says, and to just humble yourself and work on your inner self as well. But the last thing with the whole perfect thing and not being perfect, we all want to be great. We want to be awesome. We want to do something great with our lives. And just yesterday, I had the honor of being at the memorial service for Pastor Glenn Cole, and he was a legacy. He's a legend, and I know his words will live on. But a quote that was shared at his service was this: "Great men are just simple men that don't quit." And so that was just the thought that I thought we should leave with today, is just don't quit. Don't quit on working on your inner self and your relationship with God. Don't quit on fighting the lies in your life and finding the truth. And just don't quit on life. Don't quit on God. Don't quit on yourself. Um, Thanks for listening, and I guess you might be hearing more from me. Have a good night.